What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be building a recce rifle, so let's jump into it. Now if you don't know what recce is, it's short for reconnaissance. And honestly that term's overused because 99% of us are never going to be out doing reconnaissance. I don't have a military background, I'm just a normal dude that loves guns, but I do like to be prepared. For me, this is kind of a do-everything rifle. Something that can reach out to longer distances. It's lightweight. You can do reconnaissance if you need to. You can use it in close quarter stuff. It's quiet, and by quiet, I don't just mean suppressed. I mean not a lot of rattles. So for me, a do-it-all, kind of an all-purpose rifle is what I'm going to put together, and I'm going to be starting with a rifle that I already have. I built this about 5 years ago. It's chambered in .223 Wild, has a 16-inch barrel, and we'll go over it a little more in depth once we jump over to the bench and I'll start showing you stuff up close. But this is the platform that we're starting with. I'm going to be changing a bunch of different parts on this to kind of set it up how I think an all-purpose rifle should be set up. Now, some of the stuff you see, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. You might be like, you shouldn't set up a do-it-all rifle like that. You shouldn't have that. You shouldn't do this. That's fine. Everybody has their own opinion on everything, which is awesome. That's why there's so many aftermarket parts and companies supporting a platform like the AR, because everybody has different tastes. And I'm going to set this up how I think it should be set up. That's not saying that the way you set yours up is wrong. I'm just going to set this up how I want it. This gun is built pretty nice already. The trigger, it's really nice. There's a lot of aftermarket parts on it. It is not mil-spec by any means, but I'm going to be changing some stuff up with the reconnaissance part of this in mind. Because like you saw in the thumbnail, if there ever was some sort of military invasion and you had to go do some reconnaissance or protect your neighborhood, I want to be prepared for that, and I want the stuff that I think I would need for that. Now, I am in an urban environment. I live in the city. I'm not out in the woods. I don't live near the forest or the wilderness, but I do live near one of the top 3 largest Air Force bases in the United States. There's probably 3 or 4 different other military installations that are within an hour drive of my house. So those are kind of high probability targets if a foreign country were to make a stupid decision and invade the United States. So that's what this is geared towards, is kind of more of an urban environment. First up is going to be this optic. I just have a Vortex Strike Eagle LPVO on here, and I'm going to be swapping that out for the optic that's on this gun, and I'm going to be using the cantilever mount that's on this gun. So I've got to swap these both out. I'll explain that a little more to you once we jump over to the bench. Now this is just going to be part 1. I'm still waiting on a few parts for this. Today we're going to go through and get the stuff that I've got thrown on this, and then in part 2 we'll get the rest of it set up and hit the range and show you guys how this works. So let's jump over to the bench. I'll show you what I got. I'll show you what I'm going to do, go through what I already have on here, and then we'll get throwing some of this stuff on. All right, so first off, let me show you what we're working with. This is my AR-15 chambered in .223 Wild. It has a 16-inch ballistic advantage barrel. I have an ASR muzzle brake on it, so I can use the suppressor. It's got a mid-length gas system with an adjustable gas block. This is one of the builder sets that Aero Precision does every month. Like I said, I've had this for quite a few years, and it's been nothing but reliable. I have a Strike Eagle 1-8 LPVO on it. It has Aero Precision nickel boron bolt carrier group, a Radian charging handle. I've got the Hyperfire Hyper Touch trigger in this, a Hogue rubber overmolded grip, and then I've got a bunch of Strike Industry stuff. Their safety selector, takedown pins, their castle nut and end plate, and then it's got a Fab Defense buttstock on it. So I'm going to be changing a few of these things up today. So to start with, we're going to swap out this Strike Eagle 1-8 LPVO for this Strike Eagle 3-18. Now this one's a little bit bigger. It's got a 34mm tube, and that will help with kind of the whole goal of the rifle, is to be able to use it in longer distance situations and reach out to some distances that wouldn't be as easy to do with the 1-8. And I'm going to be mounting it with this Griffin Armament cantilever mount. Now I have this on my URBAN Precision bolt action rifle, which this mount is a little bit overkill for this gun. The reason I'm wanting to use this Griffin Armament mount is, 1, it is sturdy and stout as hell. It's got 3 different bolts on each ring holding that down. It's very stout, yet it's not too heavy. It's still kind of skeletonized in a few areas. And this one also has different attachment points on it to where I can run an offset red dot, which I'm planning on doing. That's one of the parts I'm waiting for, is the plate to mount an offset red dot. And that will be useful for more close quarters stuff. So I'm planning on getting that and putting that on there as well, but that's the reason I'm swapping to this mount. Next up, I'm going to be changing out that adjustable butt stock for this Magpul PRS light stock. This is a fixed stock. It does have some adjustment, but once you get it set up, it's set where you have it. It's not like you're grabbing this thing and trying to extend that stock out. Kind of eliminates one more thing you got to think about if you've got to go to work right now. So that's why I'm going with this. Plus it will eliminate some of those rattles from the buttstock. You know, if you're packing this thing around on a sling or whatever, in an urban environment, there's a lot of hard stuff, brick, concrete, all sorts of stuff that you can be hitting your gun and stuff on. And it'll eliminate two problems, which would be a rattling buttstock, and one more thing you got to worry about having to adjust that, because with a longer range scope, eye relief is a little bit less forgiving if your length of pull changes or whatever. So I'm going to be running this PRS light stock, and to run that PRS light buttstock, I'm going to have to change out this end plate. So this one, it's a Strike Industries, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's got a QD point underneath. It's kind of big and bulky, so I'm just going to change that out to a regular old mil-spec one so I can get that stock on. And then I'm also going to change out this Strike Industries safety selector. I don't know if you guys have ever used these, and I don't know why I bought it when I bought it. These are horrible to work with, horrible to run. Yeah, you can flip it around and stuff, but it is not comfortable. There's kind of some sharp points, and I just don't like it. So I'm going to be swapping that for the Rendition Talon safety selector. These are one of my favorites. They're very comfortable. They work really well. They're not overly expensive. You can set it up for a 90-degree or 45-degree throw. So I'm going to be throwing that in there. And then I've also got a weapon light to throw on this. And this is the Nightstick Long Gun Turbo Weapon Light. Nightstick has a great reputation. They're in law enforcement, military applications. This light is 800 lumens, 1000 candela. So I think this will be a good option to go on this. They are coming out with rechargeable batteries for these, which will be great. So I'll be trying some of those out when they're on the market. I just talked to these guys at SHOT Show a few weeks ago, and that's the weapon light that I'm going to be throwing on this. And then I've also got a sling that I'm going to throw on this. I'm just going to be using this Magpul sling. I've also got one of these Sentry straps from Neomag. These are pretty cool. I'll show you how this works when we get into it. This essentially wraps around the handguard, and it's got a magnetic keeper, so it keeps your sling nice and tight when you're just carrying it around and not using it. But then when you need that sling and need to throw this gun on, you can deploy it very easily and fast and get that sling thrown on. Now, upgrades in the future. Now, some of the parts I'm waiting on, like I mentioned, I'm waiting on that red dot plate that will attach to that scope mount. So I'm going to be swapping that out. I am going to be taking off this foregrip and this grip and putting on the Die-Frico grips. Those are on their way. So I'll be using a Die-Frico Kung Fu grip and their Tiger Claw up front, kind of as a hand stop. I do love these Hogue rubber overmolded grips, but the Kung Fu grip has a little bit better grip angle. It's also plastic, so it'll be easier to clean. You can just wipe it off with whatever cleaner you want. And it also provides storage in the bottom with one of their grip plugs. So that's what I'm going to be running for a grip. And then their Tiger Claw hand stop up front. I'm also thinking I might swap out this muzzle brake for a ASR flash hider. Just get one of those 3-prong flash hiders. Again, that's one thing that can give you away if you're running a brake without the silencer. That's going to throw quite a bit of flash, and anything you can do to stay covert and limit giving away your position in whatever situation, I think that'll be better. So I'm just going to swap that out for a flash hider once I get one of those. So if the opportunity arises that I'm not running a can on here, that flash signature isn't giving me away. The reality of getting in a situation where all this stuff actually matters is very, very slim, but I just want to be prepared and set up just in case that situation ever arises. Like we talked about a little bit, typically rifles that are set up for reconnaissance or some sort of camo. And yeah, if you're out in the woods and stuff like that, multicam, whatever environment you're going to be in, that's probably better set up. But this one kind of has this lasered pattern on it, so it's kind of gray and black, and to be honest, those are a couple colors that you typically see in an urban environment, you know. So I'm not going to say this is camoed for an urban environment, but it does kind of break up the color contrasts a little bit. And another thing that I want to limit is reflective or flashy parts. So I'm going to get some kind of flip caps like these for that scope, so you can cover up the scope so they don't see that reflection off the scope when you're not using it. See if I can find a cover for the light, so again, there's no reflection there, and try and limit the things that can be reflective on this gun. This is just kind of the thought process that I'm going through. Like I mentioned, I'm not some operator, not some military expert that's gone through all this 40 years of training and all this stuff. I'm just a normal dude that wants a setup that's gonna work for me. Now, I know a lot of guys do run lasers and things like that on the front of their guns. Honestly, I don't think that's something that's beneficial for me. Yeah, it would look cool, but why spend $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, whatever on a laser on the front of this when I probably won't need it. Any situation I'm going to be in or think I could possibly be in, I think this will be set up just how I would need it. I don't have night vision. I don't have tactical operator type stuff. I'm just going to set this up, try and keep it lightweight, not flashy, and try and keep the operation as minimal as possible, not having to adjust the stock. Just simple controls that I'm used to. But before we get going on this, I will have a build list linked in the description for all the stuff that I have on this gun and that I'm going to use on this gun. So if you guys are interested in any of this stuff or have questions on it, check that stuff out. I'll also try and throw a QR code on the screen because I've seen in the analytics quite a few of you guys are watching on TV and on tablets and computers. So I'll throw that up there so you can scan it, check out the parts while you're watching the video. And then I've also got Ballistically Challenge merchandise over on the website if you want to check that stuff out, support the channel. I'll have all those links down in the description. And then also I want you guys to let me know what you guys think. If there's something that I'm missing, if there's other things that I should do to this gun that you think would enhance this setup, leave that stuff down in the comments. But I'm gonna get going on swapping out these parts and get this thing set up with the stuff that I have. Alright, we got a bunch of the swapping done. I got that new safety selector in there. These Radians are one of my favorites. Got the optics off, got them all swapped. And yeah, I know I will have to pull this grip back off once the new grip shows up, but that's not a big deal. But now I'm going to start going back on with all the new stuff. I will have that link in the description that takes you to my website. We'll have a full build list over there. You guys can go check that out. I'll also make sure I link all the tools and stuff like that I use. So if you guys are wondering what I'm using, you guys can go check that out. So the first thing I'm going to throw on is this Magpul PRS light stock. I want to get this on before I throw the scope on. That way I can make sure the eye relief and everything like that is good. So that's what I'm going to do first. Again, I chose this one because it's the light version, and that will save a little bit of weight. Yes, it will add a little bit of length as well, but I don't think that's a big deal. Also, if you didn't know, Tyrant CNC makes knives along with all their other parts. This thing is pretty sweet. It's come in really handy. It's got a ball bearing in there, so it's extremely smooth. I'm not a huge knife guy, but I've been using it quite a bit. So if you guys haven't seen these, I'll make sure and link them over at the build list as well. Another little trick I've picked up is to put a little bit of oil down in here where this mounts up to the Picatinny rail. That helps when you're torquing this thing down. It's not bound up or anything. That oil helps it go right where it needs to go. I'm just going to use my little Wheeler fat wrench to get this torque down. Another thing that I do is just kind of snug it up and then make sure and put some forward pressure on this mount. That way it's locked against the back side of those lugs. So under recoil, it's not going to move at all. And if you guys are wondering how to mount a scope, I do have a video on that. This is one of the early videos on the channel, so it's not as polished, but I go through my process of mounting a scope. So if you guys want to go check that out, I'll make sure and link that below. All right, scope is on. It's looking good. I'm gonna throw this nightstick weapon light on, then we'll jump back up off the bench and take a look at the stuff we've thrown on so far. This light I got came with all the mounting hardware and everything that I'm gonna need. That's one thing that Nightstick kind of prides themselves on, is including everything that you're gonna need to install it on your weapon. Alright guys, so here's where we are at. I got that new Magpul PRS Lite buttstock on there, that new Vortex 3-18 scope with the Griffin Armament cantilever mount, got that new Radian safety selector on there. I got that new nightstick weapon light that tucks in nice and tight to the handguard, which I like. They even include like a little cable management clip for that, and the pressure pad. So that went on nice and smooth, and then I threw on the anechoic suppressor that I'd be running on this. And with the suppressor, it has the hub mount, and I use the ASR Bravo mount for that. So this is how we're looking so far. Again, as soon as I get the other parts, we'll get this grip swapped out. We'll get the hand stop on. I do also have a piece of arc rail coming, so I can use a bipod or put it in my tripod. It was a little bit of a pain swapping scopes and moving all that stuff around, but honestly, I think this thing is going to turn out pretty sweet.
It's pretty cool, I guess.
I will have to fine tune a little bit once I get everything done. Get this cheek riser set where I want, length of pull, all that kind of stuff. But this is a good start. So like I said, I'll have a link in the description. Takes you to my website where I'll have all the parts and pieces that I use, as well as tools and anything like that I'm using on this build. So make sure and go check that out. Check out the Ballistically Challenge merchandise. Pick you up a t-shirt or a hat, because nobody can have too many t-shirts. Also, let me know in the comments if there's anything that I've overlooked or missed. Make sure to throw that down below. Make sure you're subscribed, because I will be having part 2 of this coming very soon. And hopefully in that part 2, we'll get this thing finished up and hit the range. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll check you guys on the next one.